Hey,
Hello.
let's wrap up this Final Fantasy discussion, shall we? Once and for all.
We only have terrible games left to talk about.
I really did not anticipate this becoming. I thought at first it was just going to be a single video, and then that was a pipe dream. I did not really ever think it was going to be three, but here we are. But it gives us opportunities to talk about a couple of the spin-offs, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. So we left off at 12, which I
Which
barely
I loved
experienced,
and
and he loved.
experience. Yeah.
And then we got to 13, which I still bought the day it came out.
Oh, I don't even think I did that.
And then I walked down a corridor and hit A for 4 hours. Then it was walk down a corridor and actually play the game. I never got to the point where
Yeah.
it got good, because that's the 30-hour mark or so.
13 was a 10+ hour tutorial, and then the game kind of started, and then it was really just battling, and there weren't any other characters in the world.
No towns. You never went to a town
And
to go to the weapon store and go
during
to
during the 10-hour tutorial, you kind of ran past groups of people.
stores were little computers
Yeah.
that you would, instead of actually going into a shop.
I played devil's advocate that the battle system, once you got past what I keep calling the 10-hour tutorial, I thought the battle system was okay. It was interesting.
The battle system had some potential.
Yes, it did.
But I really, on principle, I don't like playing an RPG where I can't control the actions of all my party members in combat. Now, in a lot of RPGs, there's a guest character sometimes that does its own thing. That's fine. But you control one person, and everybody else does their own thing.
Right.
And
That's not. I mean, that is
you
true.
can control. You can control their choices.
You control on a higher order than selecting individual commands. You control their role in the battle.
Yes. You're going to be the healer, so just heal as you feel appropriate. No, I want to choose how I'm healing. I want to be in charge of this team.
Right.
But yeah, 13 was when I was just done. That's it. 12 didn't grip me. 10 kind of irritated me. 8 really pissed me off. 9 was okay. But 13, that's it. I'm out. I ran down a corridor and hit A.
Yeah.
For 10 hours.
Yeah.
You think I'm kidding? It's at least 3 to 4 hours. All you do is you walk down a hallway and hit A. And part of the reason they had to structure the game like that, to be just a narrow hallway, is because of how extensive the graphics were.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't give you the freedom to roam around openly because they didn't have the ability to render all that. And to me, that really spoke a lot of what the franchise cared about now. They don't care about the story as much. They don't care about the characters as much. They don't care about the experience as much. They just want it to look good.
Yes, it was style and no substance.
You know what?
Mm.
Mega Man 9 and 10 came out with NES graphics, and everybody was happy about it because it was a good game. It was the game they wanted. He doesn't care about Mega Man. But my point is, the graphics didn't have to be cutting edge. The game just had to be good. And it wasn't.
No.
Did you ever play 13.2
Yes.
or 13.3?
I did. I played both of them.
By this point, I was out. I know nothing. Go ahead.
13.2, they, I think, took criticism to heart. 13.2 was more non-linear. It had a monster collecting mechanic. You had 2 human characters, and then your third character was there were hundreds of different monsters that you could collect, which is something that I wanted in a Final Fantasy for a long time. I kind of wish that it didn't happen as part of the 13 trilogy.
So Final Fantasy 13 meets Pokemon.
But I appreciated it. And then it fixed some of the stuff that I didn't like about the combat, where like if your team lead dies, you lose the whole battle.
By the way, Dragon Quest like 5
that.
and 6 let you recruit monsters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wanted like a Final Fantasy monsters or something, but I didn't want it just to be part of that 13 trilogy. So 13.2 was better. 13.2 of that trilogy, I think, was the best, but that's still not saying that it was anywhere near what Final Fantasy had been before. Lightning Returns was a fan service game specifically for fans of the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, if that makes sense. And you got to dress up Lightning. You got to. She's the main character in the first game. She was really just a side character in the second game, and then she was the main character in the third game, and you got to dress her up in dozens of different outfits.
So that's your favorite.
And then, no. I guess I did like dressing her up in the different outfits.
I know, I knew it!
But everything else was like you had to be like a fan of 13 in the way that I wasn't, and I don't think a lot of people were, because it was kind of going back and revisiting what was happening to all the characters that you had met in the other games, and I just didn't care about any of them that much. So I played it and I finished it, but it was in the middle. It was like second place of that trilogy.
Then 14 was another MMO. I played a couple hours of it with some friends before they did the whole remastered thing, because it launched and it tanked. And then they apparently remade it from the ground up and launched it again. And apparently it's good now. Like,
yeah, I've heard it's spectacular, but I just don't play MMOs.
I don't either anymore. I played them a lot in college, and I can't get excited about MMOs anymore, I guess. I kept trying. It's just, it's not working for me. And so now 15 is coming out. I'm still done.
And 15 is the story of how One Direction formed.
I have read in stories that 15 is going to be a road trip with a boy band, and I told that to Russ, and he said that's all I've ever wanted from a video game. Yes, you did. That's what you said to me.
I probably did. I'm quite a card.
Yes, he's quite the Stitch.
Yeah. So I am not terribly excited about 15, but I'll give it a shot. I'm actually apprehensive about 15, mostly just because it's been described, and I played the demo, and it's been described kind of like a Kingdom Hearts style battle system, which I see. I mean, I see why people describe it that way, and I don't like Kingdom Hearts at all, and it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's Disney characters. I actually really like that, but no, I don't like the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts, so
I'm okay with Kingdom Hearts.
I am cautiously and optimistic and kind of apprehensive about 15.
I'm just out. I'm done. Even if Russ comes to me and says 15 is the greatest game I've ever played in my life, I'm not going to play it. I'm done.
And one thing that I definitely wanted to address, I read this on a blog, so it's not like my own insight, but I totally agree with it. I think that and what it said was that in older Final Fantasies, there was a silliness. There was silliness in older Final Fantasies. Think of Wall Market in Final Fantasy VII, where you have to dress Cloud up like a girl to sneak into a mansion. Think of like all the dancers in Final Fantasy IV. Just silly.
There was some silly elements.
There was silliness in all of the Final Fantasies through
the
PS1
auction house
era.
in 6 had a lot of silliness to it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, the whole opera thing, and Ultros. Just the boss of Ultros was a gag recurring villain.
And the statement was that since the PS2 era, Final Fantasy has kind of lost the silliness. And I think that kind of sums up.
I can see that.
A way that it's gone downhill. I think it's trying too hard to be art, or just to be stylish or gritty or whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't have the ability to just be goofy anymore.
Russ and I have had this conversation in the past where we were both battered housewives with Final Fantasy.
Oh.
Time and again, it betrayed our trust, it betrayed our expectations. At 13, I finally got out of that relationship, and I'm done. I will play spin-offs. I'll do remakes of the ones that I like, because I like them. And when they come up with stuff that kind of blends several of them together, okay, yeah, Dissidia. I like the Dissidia series, actually.
Oh, I don't.
But I'm out. In order to get me back, they would have to, kind of like they did with 9, they would have to make a big point about this Final Fantasy. We're going back to our roots and doing it right. In order for me to even give them another chance, they'd really have to come to me and say, "I'm sorry, we're going to go back to how things used to be between us."
So
Russ, however, is still in this
Yeah.
relationship. Russ keeps going back for smacks to the face, and sometimes apparently he has good times.
I'm gonna keep trying. I'll give it a chance. I don't know if I'll get 15 on launch day, but I will give it a chance. I might wait for some reviews to come in.
I'm
I
out.
I like the. Have you heard Florence and the Machine sing "Stand by Me," which is the theme song
No.
for Final Fantasy 15? So I like.
Yeah, starting with 8, they all had to have a theme song.
Well, 13's didn't make sense. I don't know if you remember that one. It was. I can't remember her name now, but the lyrics didn't really seem to have anything to do with the game. I like Florence and the Machine, and I like that song, and I like.
4 didn't have a theme song, and it was a perfectly good game.
Well, they all have a theme, but they don't have like an American singer singing the theme song. Anyway, I digress. I will give it a shot.
Real quick to address spinoffs, Final Fantasy Tactics is really, really, really good. If you like tactical RPGs, which Russ doesn't,
No.
Final Fantasy Tactics kind of sets the standard for tactical RPGs. It's got a great job class system. I love Final Fantasy Tactics. I don't think you've ever.
No, I
Played
have
it.
not even put it in and tried.
He's probably not going to. Final Fantasy Adventure wasn't really a Final Fantasy game.
It was a saga. What? No, not saga. It was
No, it was Saga. Adventure. Oh no, Legend. It was. You're right. It was a Mana.
Legend. Final Fantasy Legend is saga.
It's Saga. Final Fantasy Adventure is
Adventure
Mana.
Is second in Setsu
That
or
one.
Dentetsu.
The Mana series. You know,
which
Secret
we
of.
know is Mana.
That blew my mind as a kid because I didn't know that. I had Final Fantasy Adventure and I played it a lot on the Game Boy. And then when I got Secret of Mana and I started playing, I went, "Wait a minute, this all sounds familiar.
Right.
This is like a sequel to the. Oh my God, it's a sequel to Final Fantasy Adventure."
One of the games that I'm playing right now is Adventures of Mana, which just came out for the Vita, which is the remake of Final Fantasy Adventure.
They've done a remake of that before. It was called Sword of Mana.
They did, and I played that one on Game Boy Advance, but they did one that is, I don't know how to describe it. Sword of Mana was like a reimagining of that story. This is like a frame by frame remake, and it's just enhanced graphics. And
I actually might have to do it. Because
Yeah, you should
I
look
played
into
it.
it
I
because
played it
it's-
a lot as a kid.
It's wonderful.
Legend we will do as on Home of the RNG. It's coming up on our slate, Final Fantasy Legend, which was actually the beginning of the Saga series. Adventure and Legend are not really related to Final Fantasy at all. They just put the name on it to sell
it in the United States.
Mystic Quest, I played. It was fun. It was okay.
It was created specifically for a Western audience that they felt like regular Final Fantasy games were too difficult for. So it was basically the Japanese treating us like we were mentally challenged.
Well, actually, we got that with 4 as well. There was an easy and a
Right.
hard version of 4, and what came over to the US as 2 was a dumbed down, easy version of 4.
Right.
But now you can get. It actually removed some characters' abilities, made Edward, poor Edward. Oh my God. Edward gets back his lost ability in a lot of the more current remakes. Edward is universally a joke for being a worthless character. His attack skill's not that great. His one ability that they didn't drop is his ability to hide. And he just is no longer a part of this battle. Unless everybody dies, then he comes back and gets killed. His lost ability comes back. What he can do is he can take a potion, which heals a little bit of life, and he can divide it up to heal all of the party members, even less than that.
Yeah.
So basically, here's 2 hit points for everybody. Like, it took a useless character and really just went, by the way, super useless.
Yeah. You want to know, you said you swap Edge out for Yang, and I
Yes.
swap Kane out for Edward. Just because I feel sorry for him.
Why would you get rid of Kane though? He's the best.
I don't know.
I love Kane. Anyway, any other decent spin-offs?
That's pretty much it. I like the music, the theater rhythm. I like the music.
Yeah, I never played
music
that.
rhythm game. If you like again, like I say, I normally don't pay attention to music in games. Final Fantasy
Has great
has
music.
great music, has had great and memorable music the whole game. So theater rhythm, I play the heck out of.
I'm kind of indifferent to 10 overall, but that in-boss theme, that is the rockingest fantasy soundtrack.
I'm glad you said that because that's what I learned playing theater rhythm is I play the Final Fantasy X songs. I play the crap out of those. It's just the game itself that was not great.
That in-boss kicks in and it's just, whew.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're remaking 7. I'll get the remake of 7, although I'm worried about it because the more news that comes out, the more concerned I am that they're going to take 7, which is a decent game. It's a good game in the series. And they're going to apply all the mistakes they've been making ever since to it.
Yeah.
That's really my biggest concern. And I'm going to give them money for this. And they're going to beat me again. They're going to once again get my money in exchange for my anguish.
I'm just worried that people's expectations over the past 20 years are so high that whatever they do, people are going to hate.
Despite our differing opinions on several of these games, we both are pretty sane about 7. It's a good game. It's not the best game ever made. It's not my top 5.
Yeah.
It's a good game, though. I mean, I wouldn't turn it down. I wouldn't kick it out of bed. I am just so worried they are going to ruin it with this remake. And every time they release more news about it,
isn't it episodic?
They're releasing it in sections.
Okay. Yeah.
And that has to do with the size, getting it out to the public.
Which I think worries me that it's going to be so bloated.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like
you know what? When I first played 7, and I left the city for the first, you leave Midgar for the first time, I was like, oh my god, I'm actually going to go outside of the city?
Right.
Because I've spent 10, 15 hours just in this one city. I thought this was the whole game. So it was kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, there's the world here.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a bloated game in that respect already.
And I feel like,
So we're at the end of our discussion of Final Fantasy. I guess we could do top 5 in order. Yeah.
5? Okay. You do it first, though.
All right. Actually, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3. 4, 5, and 6.
So 4, number 1.
4 is number 1.
5, number 2.
I just love the characters. I love the story. 5, I love 5's job class system. I like its story. It's a simplistic story, but it's well done. I like the characters, even the unfortunately named butts. 6 may be the best Final Fantasy, honestly. But I love 4 and 5 so much more.
So you're confused about how this works? Okay.
It may be the better game, but it's not my favorite.
Okay, right.
Right? Emotions come into it. Attachment comes into it. I like 4 the most. I don't care if it's not the greatest game.
I get it.
I love 4 the most. So 1, 2, 3 is 4, 5, and 6. What are my 4th and 5th? 7, I guess, would be 4th.
Okay.
And I guess 9 would be 5th.
Okay.
I don't remember much of 9, but I didn't. All the other ones I have negative memories of, and I don't have negative memories of 9. In fact, I like 9. Actually, spent a lot of time referring to the older games. Like you'd find Kane's spear is one of the character's ultimate weapons. They did Paloom and Peroom have an item shop.
Who are Paloom and Peroom?
The twins from 4.
Hallam and Porum.
Oh my god. Name your
I
names.
will always call them Paloom and Peroom from now on.
That's what I do.
All right. Number 1, 9. Number 2, 8.
That's so weird.
Number 3, 6. Number 4, 4. And number 5, 12.
Such a weird list.
Yeah, it is. I know that it's weird. But it's just like you. Like those are the ones that I feel the best playing.
Can I change my vote for number 1? Earthbound. Number 1. That's my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Don't worry, we're going to do top 5 favorite RPGs of all time.
Yeah.
So
that'll be.
You'll see that.
Yeah. All right. So finally.
Oh.
Finally, after 3 videos, we have finished our discussion of Final Fantasy. Just like the Final Fantasy series, we kept making sequels.
We did.
We couldn't stop ourselves.
And we're sorry if the third one was so much worse than the first one.
If we deviated from what you identified as a Final Fantasy discussion video, we are sorry.
Yeah.
And we will try to return to the original vision that we and you shared, us as the makers and you as the players, or the watchers, because you're important to us. Now try and get something like that from Square Enix.
And this is Paloom and Peroom saying goodbye.
You get to be the girl.